Warbles on a lot here with First Dog on the Moon and the Dag End of Outsiders, 22nd of May 2016.
The politician has a plan to fix the issues in a general sense, and that's why we keep hearing about this damn plan.
Well, let's see if these plans emerge. Our outsiders this morning, Parnell Palmer-McGuinness, Paula Mathieson and Anita Heiss. And Anita has an event coming up that she wants us to be aware of, Kick On for Literacy, May 27. Now, if you want more information about that, head on your internets to indigenousliteracyfoundation.org.au. That's all one big word. And look there for the links to Kick On Literacy. It all will be revealed. Thank you to all. 5 minutes to 10 here on RN Sunday Extra.
Hello, Patriots, and welcome to First Dog on the Moon's Guide to Modern Living. I'm the Walkley Award-winning editorial cartoonist for The Guardian Australia, First Dog on the Moon. It's been a busy week for us here at the First Dog on the Moon Institute. The election campaign is in full swing, and our outrageous attention-seeking phrases division is working harder than a one-armed goanna hanger in a gale of Brussels sprouts. And that wasn't even one of their outrageous attention-seeking phrases, or as we call them, oats. Somebody stop the... oh, dear. Recently, we poached the entire homophobic racist dog whistle team from our competitors at the Barter Scout Crayola Group. As a result, our institute's been hired by all three major parties to come up with key phrases that will stop the media cycle in its tracks. Now, we're very proud of this one. It was a cracker.
For many people, they won't be, numerate or literate in their own language, let alone English. And these people would be taking Australian jobs. There's no question about that.
And we have got plenty more to come over the course of the campaign. Why don't we drop in on the oats division now? Let's see what they've got on the boil. All right, first up, we're talking to our Liberal National Coalition Outrageous Attention-Seeking Phrases team. What have you got for us, Craig? Hello! What we've come up with is something for Christopher Pine to blurt out accidentally at the end of a press conference. He will say, Bill Shorten wears ladies' underpants. I have photos. Oh, Darren, that's fantastic. If that doesn't derail the media cycle and put the focus on Bill's man boobs, nothing will. Over here at the ALP desk, we have our senior Oats team leader, Ponsonby Foppington. How's it coming along, Foffmeister?
Ah, yes, marvellous. We're thinking we've got a line for Albo, as he's known colloquially. We'll get him in a fluoro vest at a croquembouche mine or somewhere worky like that. And he'll say, Malcolm Turnbull drinks and smokes and cocks a snoot at other blokes. That should be on the front pages for days.
Excellent work from the Foffinator. And finally, our newest clients are the Greens. Here's Bazza at the Greens Oats desk. G'day, Bazza. Oh, g'day. We reckon Di Natale's a bit of the sort of bloke who'd feed home brand tuna to his au pair and not even the dolphin safe stuff. So we want to redirect the media attention to get people talking about how down to earth the Greens are. We reckon we can get Senator Scott Ludlam to say something people can relate to, like, you know what, I would totally root Grant Denyer. Or what about, Christ on a crusket, I'd smash a Bundy and Coke right now. That is marvellous work, Bazza. You are a credit to your craft. And as you can tell, listeners, Australia's democracy is in safe hands because the election is being driven by grubby and mysterious campaign managers and money, not policies or anything important. You can relax, everyone. This has been the Guide to Modern Living, brought to you by the First Dog on the Moon Institute.
Yeah, right, it's been a very interesting style of a week. that that white supremacist, racist, isolationist dog whistle by Peter Dutton, explaining how refugees are illiterate, innumerate, and they're going to take your jobs. Okay, so what Liberal Party voters can't read, can't write, can't count, and therefore their jobs are at risk from the wicked, evil refugees that Peter Dutton wants to warn them about? And while they're taking the jobs of all the illiterate, innumerate Liberal Party voters, these wicked, evil refugees will also clog up the dole queues. So it's a wonder the poor bastard can breathe. He's got so many dog whistles stuck in his friggin' mouth simultaneously. He's sort of some sort of primitive Liberal Party harmonica on legs. But the Prime Minister, Malcolm turning bully shit artist, he backed him. Oh, yes, some of them are illiterate even in their own languages. Well, as a friend of mine pointed out, perhaps some of the genuine refugees are completely illiterate, innumerate, got no money, can't do anything. But a lot of the illegal ones, they must be able to read and write and count because they could afford the price of getting here via the, people smugglers, they call them these days. Once upon a time, it was, there was an underground railway in America where people used to be smuggled away from the oppressive regimes into the land of freedom, and everybody who was running the underground railway was considered a hero. Oscar Schindler was considered one of the great human beings of the world. You know, he's got a monument to him in Israel for smuggling a whole bunch of people out from under the noses of the fascist regime, the Nazis. But these days, Oscar Schindler would probably be kept in the detention centre in Australia as a people smuggler, and he would be demonised. So, after that marvellous little schmozzle, the police, the Australian Federal Police, decided that in the interests of impartiality, seeing as they have in the past couple of weeks been making moves progressively in the Senator Peter Slipper business, the fellow who used to be the turncoat Speaker of the Senate. And there was a fellow called Mal Brough who pretended that to keep the little children safe, the Australian military forces had to make war on the Aborigines in the Northern Territory and West Australia and other remote inland areas. Even though after the emergency response micromanaged by the Brough fella, Mal Brough, they never actually succeeded in bringing a single case of a sexually abused Aboriginal child to court. It was all done on hearsay and lies and prejudice and dog whistling. That Mal Brough. He's being investigated for the illegal copying of Peter Slipper's diary when Mal Brough wanted to get dirt on Peter Slipper to pull him down, and Peter Slipper had dirt in the diary in the sense that maybe he said something about his male secretary, a fellow called Ashby. And these stories have been surfacing, you know, once or twice a fortnight, burbling along, and it's been making the Liberal Party look like they were sort of sleazy corrupt. And it's just kept on rising. And I'm guessing that somebody in the AFP has decided, well, you know, like, we can't keep raiding the bloody Liberal Party unless we balance it by raiding the Labor Party. What can we raid the Labor Party for? Oh, well, what about this case of the whistleblower who went to the Shadow Minister for Communications and said, "Och, aye, alack and alas, there's all this corruption and malmanagement by Mal Gollum turning bully shit artist in the Department of Communications, and they're making a complete schmozzle of installing the broadband in Australia, and there's all kinds of ideological shit going on, and they're trying to solder fibre optic cables onto copper wires in the bottom of everybody's driveway, underneath a lamppost or something. It's just it's a disaster, and you, as the Shadow Minister for Communications, you should look into these areas and call the Minister to account for it on the floor of Parliament. Okay, well, the overcompensated, anally retentive, inferiority complex driven individuals who work in the Australian Federal Police have decided that that's an example of whistleblowing, and leaking from a government department is considered obviously a national security issue. So at 10 o'clock at night, in the middle of an election campaign, when the government is floundering and looking like shit on a stick, the Australian Federal Police decided to try and make themselves look like they were impartial and fair by raiding the Shadow Minister for Communications office. And then after they'd raided that, they turned up at his staffer's house, and they continued to raid that from midnight to dawn. And they brought along an employee of the Australian Broadband Corporation or Authority or whatever it is, and that employee ran around photographing documents which were under parliamentary privilege. So all it's really succeeded in doing is ramming home for the Australian population the fact that the Liberal Party supporters are terrified that the Liberal Party is about to go down like a bag of shit on the courtroom floor, steaming gently on the carpet. And they're trying to rig the game. Another example we had was when Barneybaby Joyce sent out copies of the Australian Constitution to his electors or his supporters in the National Party, and he drew attention to Section 44 of the Australian Constitution, which is very curious, in that it prohibits anybody who is a state or federal government employee from standing for Parliament or standing for the Senate. It also prevents anybody who is in receipt of a Commonwealth pension from standing for Parliament. Therefore, Barneybaby Joyce's terrified supporters got themselves on the front page of the Glen Innes Examiner on Thursday, May 19. Campaign gets nasty. All Tony Windsor has to do to abide by the law is to not receive the pension. And we have a professor of law from the university to explain what it all means. And what it means is that Tony Windsor has announced his candidature, but he has not formally signed a piece of paper that nominates himself as a candidate, and therefore he's entitled to receive his pension until he does sign that bit of paper, which will be in several weeks' time. Mercurius Goldstein, the local Greens candidate, he actually filed his resignation papers with the State Department of Education because he's a school teacher when he announced that he was standing when he attended AgQuip at Gunnedah back in August or something. So there is nothing untoward going on. Both Tony Windsor and Mercurius Goldstein are perfectly entitled to campaign in advance of signing their nomination form. They're both entitled to be on the payroll until that time. But last night when I was talking to Mercurius Goldstein, I mentioned to him that it might be interesting to do a bit of a search of the background histories of all the Liberal Party members in the Senate and the House of Reps and in the States, and all the Labor Party members and all the National Party members and all the independents to see who was in receipt of a Department of Veterans Affairs pension while they were campaigning. Because quite honestly, knowing how returned servicemen regard their pension entitlements, I cannot imagine Jackie Lambie, for example, refusing to accept her pension when she was campaigning in the last election to be installed as a senator. She was a time-expired military police officer in the Australian Defence Forces, and she makes a lot of noise about it. Maybe she's not entitled to be there because she was in receipt of the pension while she was standing. Tim Fisher, the Vietnam veteran who was the Deputy Prime Minister and the leader of the National Party, did he get his pension while he was campaigning? It's opened a massive can of worms, and the Liberal and National Party should be shitting themselves with fear because I fed the concept backwards through Mercurius to the Greens last night. And we will see what we will see. But it's backfired on Barneybaby because everybody's just laughing at how scared he and his supporters are of the Greens and how scared they are of Tony Windsor, that they would try to find a bullshit loophole and massage it to knock them out of the campaign before anybody gets a chance to vote. It just makes Barneybaby, scowling around barking bad dog at everybody look ridiculous. So, sorry about the croaky voice, but I was partying till 3 o'clock last night. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.